Welcome to the opening kick. Our guy Daniel Petty took a week off on us, but we got a better looking guy, better hair. Tyler Turner, you're back. Played at Liberty with the Flames, defensive end. Look like you lost a little, but you look a bit more jacked up right now. You do some pregame analysis with the Liberty Flames. Awesome job doing that. But tonight, you get to come over here and get your butt kicked. So you ready for
I'm ready. Bring it
that?
on. Bring it on.
Listen, we're going to jump right into it, man. We know that this is everybody wants to talk Bama, Michigan. ReliaQuest Bowl, Bama versus Michigan. Bama's looking for their get back last year of having that fumble rule skit the 1 yard line to get in. How do you see this going matchup wise? Bama's offense versus Michigan's defense.
Yeah, it's totally forgot. It's a rematch of last year's Rose Bowl, which was one of the best Rose Bowls in recent memory. Obviously, Michigan was able to pull out the victory and then eventually go on to win the national title. The thing about these bowl games that is frustrating for me is all these really good players sit out. So for Michigan, you have Colton Loveland sitting out, you have Kenneth Graham sitting out, you have Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, you have Mullins, the running back, sitting out. You have just so many good players for Michigan sitting out. I don't know what's the opt out looking like for Alabama right now. Do they have most of their better players playing, or
Listen, we Bama. Unless they hit the portal to go to another school, we playing.
okay? That's
Yeah,
good
yeah,
that
yeah, we're
Warren's
playing.
keeping that energy in there.
Yeah.
So and you obviously got one of the better quarterbacks in college football, Jalen Milroe playing. Maybe his last game. I don't know. Seeing him kind of looking pretty good in some of the mock drafts. Uh, so I mean, I really like Alabama in this game. I think they're better, anyways. And because Michigan, great defense, obviously pulled off the upset over Ohio State. It had a lot to do with the defensive performance, and a lot of those guys aren't playing. So I just don't think that Michigan has the people. When your best players aren't playing and you don't have as good of players anyways, I don't like this matchup for Michigan. So I think as long as Alabama comes out and plays their game, I think they're able to dominate both sides of scrimmage, and I think they win this game pretty easily.
You know what, Tyler? I just think that if Michigan comes out and they get into playing that physical style that they did against Ohio State and just grind it out, I can see where they can make this into a game. Yes, their number one running backs out, and they've lost somewhat of a flair for the excitement because I think their national championship game was against Ohio State and they won that. But Michigan's always going to play with that pride that you know that they're not just going to come out and lay down and let Alabama just run all over them. And just watching Alabama all year, there's a side that when a team lines up and plays physical against them, they've had the opportunity to move the football and get some yardage on that defense. Not a lot of explosive runs, but over a period of time, just hammering at them. It's not the same old Alabama defense that dared you to run the ball against them. This is more opportunistic defense. If you put it up in the air, they might have an interception. They get a tackle for a loss, have you playing behind the chains, dial up a blitz, and get that going. But Michigan ain't no dropping back and playing quarterback back there. They want to line up and run the ball straight down your face and get it done. So it should be an old school slobber knocker. And once you finish watching that game, Bama Standard's going to have that game. We're going to do that. We're going to do that follow up game afterwards. That post game with myself, Justin. So once that game's over, Bama Standard got you covered on that post game analysis, and we'll get all that done. But with all that said, put the Bama stuff to bed because they're not in the playoffs. It's time for. Well, I know you're ready. Before we get into the playoff system, just give me your thoughts on how it's been set up. Last week blowout, so we can get to this week, so we can get to all the stuff that you want to talk about and wins and losses and matchup. And I know who you got is winning the national championship, but I want to hear it. So just vent, give me all your information that you want to vent about. Vent, give me about 5 minutes. I mean, five seconds to 60 seconds of you venting, and let me hear it all out about this college football playoff system.
Yeah, 5 seconds probably wouldn't be enough. I don't. There's a lot of people that are complaining about college football right now, and I think it's a cool thing, and I'm not going to complain about it a bunch. I still love college football. I love everything that it's about. I love the pageantry. I love all the tradition. A couple things that if I'm going to touch on a couple things quickly, uh, the playoff seeding. My only issue is the four best top-rated teams should be the four teams that get a bye. So in this case, it would have been Oregon, uh, Georgia, Texas, and Penn State. They would have gotten a bye. And then I think you'd have been seeded better, that you would have gotten better matchups eventually along the way. Like you would have, I think, the four best teams playing in the semis, where now I don't know if Penn State's four best team. You have Notre Dame playing Georgia and Ohio State versus Oregon. You could argue they're the four best teams. I think there's a fair argument. Obviously, Texas is, I think, a pretty strong argument. But you could possibly say that four of the best teams are playing in the quarterfinals, while a matchup like Penn State versus Boise State is not. Like, one of them is going to make the semifinals, and I don't know if they would otherwise. So, but I'm not going to vent that much. It is what it is. They picked who they picked. It's not a perfect system. You definitely have conferences that are just better, and that's the Big Ten and the SEC. And I think you're going to see that. I think in the end, my predictions are, I believe, off the top of my head, yeah, it's Big Ten and SEC are my final four.
Would you reseed
No.
after the first week?
No, I think that's weird. I've heard that argument. I would just do, like I said, I would have done Oregon 1, 2nd, Georgia 3rd, Texas 4, Penn State, and then 5 Notre Dame, and I forget the rest. I think eventually you landed with Arizona State as the last ranked. No, Clemson would have been the last ranked team, but that would have been how I seeded.
All right, let's get into it then. Let me lay it out. Ashton Jeanty and Boise versus Penn State. I have to say Ashton Jeanty and Boise because it's a one-man show on offense.
Who's good?
Quarterback's been efficient. Mad Max has been efficient, but it's really Ashton Jeanty. So how do you see this playing out?
Everyone is saying that pick a Penn State. So you're seeing all the prognosticators, and most people think they're going to cover. But I'm going to say this. Ashton Jeanty, I saw him play against Oregon, second week of the season. Oregon had 9 guys in the box. Oregon is I think the best team. They're the number 1 team in the country, right? And he still ran for 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a 70-yard touchdown run. I have seen teams say, I'll make someone else beat me. I won't make Ashton Jeanty beat me. And he still beats them. The guy, he's going to be a top 10 pick possibly in the NFL draft. He's just a stud. He's a tremendous player. I don't think they're going to beat Penn State, but I think it's going to be more competitive than people think. I just think Penn State is too talented. I just think there's too many good players for Penn State, whether it's Abdul Carter on defense, Tyler Warren, who's the best tight end in college football, Drew Aller, who probably next year ends up being a first-round pick,
Katron Allen, and
Nick Saban. They're good, and I was at the Big Ten championship. I saw that game, and they have a lot of talent, especially on the offensive side. Oh, and the defensive side too. Oregon just ran over them, but for the most part, they have a lot of really good defensive players. I just think they're too good. But I think Boise's gonna. I think Jeanty runs for about 200 yards, and I think it's a closer game than people are going to say or giving them credit for.
Now, if you're over on X, jump on over, like and subscribe. Jump over onto our YouTube channel and come on over. This is where you can get all your questions, all the info, and anyway, I'm not even going to hear about nothing on X. So come on over on our YouTube channel, check us out. Now, Tyler, here's what I'm going to say. If this game gets into the fourth quarter, and we know that James Franklin and Andy Kownecki struggled once the tension and everything tightens up. They struggle with pressure. I think that you get this game into the fourth quarter, and the recipe for success, Boise has it. Playing keep away, Madison having a good game, playing efficient, getting the ball out of his hands. Dirk Cutter finding ways to get Ashton Jeanty the ball outside of the traditional lining them up in the eye or in the gun or in the pistol and running them with the stretch zone system. And I think the stretch zone system is good against Penn State because Penn State's best players are the edge players. And there's 2 ways to play this stretch zone. It's either you want to get up the field and put an edge on it and he has incredible vision, contact balance, and explosive running, meaning Ashley Genty. Denied Dennis Sutton is a very good defensive end himself, as well with Abdul Carter. But I can see where this game is a 3-point, maybe 7-point game with 8 minutes left. And I can see where James Franklin starts sweating a little bit. Those khakis come a little bit more soil. And Drew Aller throws the ball away. And they can't get it going. Because if anybody wants a little secret to the way that Penn State's offense runs, find number 44. And the ball is either going to be ran behind him, or the ball is going to be thrown to him, or he's going to be in the gun and the ball is going to be given to him. He is the main cog of that offense. The running backs make it all flow. But the only way that they win is if Tyler Warren, like you said, one of the better tight ends in college football, is highly involved often, and there's more explosive plays with him. So you have Penn State winning this one, a tight one or blowout?
Pretty tight, 31-24.
Okay.
I think it's a competitive game. I think that at times you say Boise might have a chance to, win this thing. But I just think there's just a little better players. Like I said, Tyler Warren he's a handful. The guy can do it all. And I in the good running game, I just think they're able to stay just enough ahead and are able to win it 31-24.
All right. Now let's go down. Let's go to Notre Dame versus Georgia. Set the scene. Carson Beck's gone. Backup quarterback's there. Georgia has nothing on the outside to throw the ball to. The offensive line is somewhat patchwork, but they're healthy now. Running backs are explosive, but they put the ball on the ground. And your backup quarterback, everyone's likes, and they're telling you everything good, but everyone always loves to hear the good story about the backup quarterback. Notre Dame came in, took it to Indiana, looked good on offense. Love is kind of banged up. They're also one-dimensional in terms of understanding how to throw the ball vertically downfield. They look like they're still stuck in the 1920s, and their best defensive lineman's out.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all that said, how does this line up, Georgia versus Notre Dame?
Yeah, this is an interesting game. It obviously has a really close line. I think it's a 2-point line. So the betting market believe it's going to be really a close game. I've been kind of going through this. I think I'm in two different groups. I'm in a ESPN Bowl, a CFP Championship pick group, and I'm in a College Football Bowl Mania group. And I think I picked separately. I think I cheated a little bit. I think I went Notre Dame one, Georgia the other. Georgia obviously has tons of talent, right? Defensively, at any point, they might just say, you're not going to score on us. We saw them do it against Texas basically 2 times, right? Especially the first game.
Punched them in their mouth. Didn't happen.
But there is some concerns about their offense. And Notre Dame has a good defense. Notre Dame has some good players on defense.
They do.
They did lose their best defensive lineman, which is obviously not good.
That's going to hurt.
I think you do have a good argument. Notre Dame, that's fine. Stuck in the 1920s. Riley Leonard, he's a good athlete. He can make plays with his feet, but against Georgia with their long, twitchy Mikael Williams,
Jalen Walker, not going to happen.
Yeah, that's just I see him going off and just running for 1 billion yards. I just don't see it. The wide receiver core is nothing to write home about. Love is good, but he is beat up, but he has gotten a little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm.
If he's healthy, he's good. He's a dynamic player.
He's as good as any running back in college football.
Yeah, he's fast. Yeah, he can fly.
Yes.
It's interesting. I go back and forth on this, and because it's a backup quarterback for Georgia. He played 1 half. I know they got all energized and they were able to pull out the victory, but they didn't really pull out the victory because of him.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
You think so?
Absolutely. I think he's a difference maker. But keep going. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay. Call me skeptical. And Carson Beck, remember, he was considered a possible first round draft pick. I don't think he is anymore, especially with the arm injury.
And he's played inconsistent and turned the ball over, and has been the reason why Georgia lost the games that they did.
Yeah, true. But remember, one of those games, Georgia just got whooped. The Ole Miss game.
But Tyler, if you are a first round or top 10 pick in the NFL draft
You'll play like that.
at the quarterback position with the talent that Georgia has, I know it's not Ladd McConkey and it's not Brock Bowers and it's not the same offensive line, it's not the same running back. But when you are that uber talent and you are perceived as a franchise starting quarterback in the NFL, regardless of what you have on the outside, you make that better. Like, you're the reason why we are going to win. But at times, he was the reason why they got themselves in trouble against Bama, turning the ball over. They should have busted up Texas even more, but he turned the ball over as well.
Yeah.
He got injured. He got injured because he held on to the ball a little bit too long. But I think Kirby Smart is one of the few coaches in college football that knows how to get his team prepared for this moment, for big games.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the Franklins and the Ryan Days of the world, that when the big games show up, they shrink. Kirby grows.
True.
In the big
Except it was Nick Saban.
There you go. He learned something from Nick.
Yeah.
And you see his players and his team play their best when it's needed. And I get the Ole Miss game, but at some point you're going to slip. And they slipped and fell on their face, but they bounced back and showed the championship pedigree that they do have.
Mm-hmm.
And Notre Dame, even against Indiana, didn't show me enough. And what hurts Notre Dame and teams like Notre Dame, they don't have enough depth. They are one injury away on offense or a player away from on offense where they don't have another guy like that. Defensively, their defensive linemen getting hurt. They don't have two more like that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So that's where the playoff system and the battle of attrition really comes in. And that's where you see the Georgias of the world start getting better because they're getting healthier now. And names that you're looking at in the middle of the season, like, man, where did this guy come from? Someone new is going to show up. And they're going to play outside of their minds in this matchup. But I have Georgia, and it's a matchup that Notre Dame really, this is not one that Notre Dame wants because they are alike. Georgia wants to play you in the box. They want to play with two tight ends. Stagnant offense, not a lot of tempo where they can go out and Glenn Schumann can get that defense set and call the perfect play against your play and stop it. So I can see Georgia winning this double figures, and Gunner's going to throw one, maybe two interceptions, but he's going to extend a few plays with his legs. And Bobo called it a good enough game for him. The greatest equalizer in college football is a mobile quarterback. They're both mobile, but I'm going to say Gunner outplays Riley Leonard on that day.
I guess I'll go Georgia, but I don't feel confident about it.
No, you don't. You don't sound confident.
I don't. This Georgia team, to be honest with you, obviously they have tons of talent, but I mean they shouldn't have lost that Georgia Tech game.
Yeah, but they didn't.
They found a way. Yeah, they found a way to win in 8 overtimes. Yeah, they have talent, but the wide receiver group does not impress me.
They've always been that way. That's Georgia. When was the last time?
George Pickens. I mean, they had some better guys than these guys. Is Colby Young playing?
He should. I think he's going to bounce back.
He's better. He's a pretty good player. But Arian Smith, I mean, he's the fastest guy in the field, but my goodness, can he catch a football?
But all right, other than George, right, and going all the way back to AJ Green, Ladd McConkey was like they found him somewhere around the way. And
I'm a Chargers fan, by the way. So
yeah, he's good. Phenomenal route runner. There's not a player in college football that can cover him. There's not a slot in the NFL that can cover him. But again, that's not Georgia's recipe for success. It's never
do
been.
Do you think their tailbacks are as good as normal? Do you think this running back group is as good as
I think this running back group. I mean, Zeus wasn't great. I mean, DeAndre Swift. I mean, this is just as
DeAndre Swift. Really?
I mean, these guys. I mean, Nate Frazier just puts the ball on the ground, but he's super talented.
Oh, he will be good.
Yeah. And I mean,
he's a young kid.
In ATN, he's a bruiser, slasher. He's getting healthy. I just don't.
Healthy?
Notre Dame does not have enough bodies. They can't take enough punches to last in this boxing match. This is a bludgeoning, heavy duty, heavy hand, not people back at the line of scrimmage. Few explosive plays. Georgia has more explosive plays in them than Notre Dame.
This is if Notre Dame had the tackle that just got injured, and they have Benjamin Morris, who's going to be a first-round draft pick. They have Xavier Watts. If they had all those guys, I think they would have enough to beat this Georgia team.
Yeah, they'll lose by 7 with that. Even with all their players and everyone's equal, they lose by 7. They don't have all those guys. This game might be over in the third quarter.
Okay, let's see.
It can get ugly.
I am gonna go Georgia, but I think it's pretty close. I think it's
okay.
Like 21. I think it's a low-scoring game. So
I'm gonna leave the best for last. Okay, we got Texas.
So Texas versus Arizona State last.
No. You know what I'm
kidding.
I'm gonna give you your baby, so you can go and just fry as many ducks and pluck as many feathers as you possibly can, and tell the world how great Dan Lanning is and how much you want to quack. Texas versus Arizona State. Cam, the man, Scatterbo versus the entire world of Texas. That defense, they haven't allowed a drop in the last few weeks. And the more they play Arch Manning, the better they are. And Quinn Ewers is like Carson Beck. I think you've had enough of him. And he can say, just go away. Honestly, you can say that team at times look at him the same way I believe they look at Carson Beck. Where they're like, haven't you graduated yet? Haven't you done? Just go away so we can get Arch Manning in the game and let Coach Sarkisian actually run the offense that he wants to. Because he's babysitting Quinn Ewers a lot. A lot of those throws and a lot of those plays are layup. But I'm going to give you the floor, since you're the guest. Texas versus Arizona State. How does Texas stop the one-man gang of Cam? Because their number one receiver's out.
Yeah, that's a problem. I think they're one-dimensional. I think Sam Leavitt's a pretty good young quarterback, but he just does not have the talent around him on the outside. Cam Scatterbo, great story. Went to Sacramento State, was a walk-on. He ended up going to Arizona State, and he's become an All-American. Just a tough dude, just a football player. I don't think it's a good matchup. I originally looked at it, and believe it or not, in one of my groups, I actually picked Arizona State with the upset. And then I actually looked at the analytics. I'm like, what an idiot. So I changed it in my other one, and because I don't think this is that close a game. I think Texas is too talented on the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball. I think they're able to. Arizona State does not have a good pass defense. Now, Quinn Ewers, like you said, has not exactly lit up the world on fire. But I believe the kid from the former Bond is back.
Isaiah Bond is back.
Yep.
He didn't play in last game. See, all these teams, like we said before, they're getting healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing you want when you're a team that's hoping that you can have Texas drag in on one leg. Like the run game is hitting on all cylinders. The left tackle is back. Blanche is back. Isaiah Bond, you've given him a couple of weeks off. He's back. They've had enough time to get Arch Manning a few more packages, and I think you're going to see more of him. I think as you continue on this playoffs, instead of just seeing him in the red zone, you're going to see maybe alternating in drives.
Have you been that impressed with him when you've seen him?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I am. And I'll say it again: the greatest equalizer in college football is a mobile quarterback.
I will give that to him. I just
And he can.
call me a Manning skeptic. Perhaps
Okay. Let's get on the sidebar for a second, because I hear a little bit of you don't believe what your eyes or what the world is saying to you about one Archman. What don't you like about
him? When I've seen him throw the ball, I think he's looked kind of inconsistent. He's a good athlete. He obviously has a great name. I mean, it's tough to beat that name, right? I think he's a good player with good measurables, and he is athletic and he's talented. I just have I remember when they brought him in. Now, granted, going against Georgia, that's in the middle of the game. But I remember when he came in, they're like, Arch is now in, and he looked terrible. Now, granted, it's playing against Georgia. But then I also saw him playing a game. I forgot it was early in the year, and he was just a little bit inconsistent throwing the ball.
Okay.
It was not very accurate. Once again, a good athlete, and a dynamic player, and he's definitely the more talented athlete than yours. But everyone's like, he's going to be the Heisman favorite next year. Eli's taking them to the mountaintop. I just got to see a better overall quarterback play. Now he's going to have a lot of talent around him, and like I said, he's talented. Maybe
you just got to see it.
Yeah, and when I have seen him throw the ball, I've been a little bit like,
He didn't blow you away.
He didn't blow me away. Like, who else was on that recruiting class? Like, I prefer Dante Moore, who actually is going to play, who's Oregon. I preferred him.
Pause.
And I preferred Nico. Now, Nico didn't play very well. The whole team didn't play very good against Ohio State. But I preferred them to Archie when they came out of high school.
Okay. I would push back against Dante Moore.
Because of his year at UCLA?
No, I don't think they're in the same category as football players.
Okay, gotcha.
I think one's an NFL guy in a few, and one's a guy that got to figure out if they're going to start it in college. Does that make any sense? And then I like Nico's athleticism. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. I think it's going to be between him, Marcel Reed, Manning, in terms of players in the SEC, along with Keelan Russell in the next few years in terms of guys. But young Manning's going to be okay. I just think whatever your favorite drink is and whatever your favorite snack is, I would tell you to get a lot of it, and I would tell you to sit back and watch when he comes in and they give him an extended role and just watch him operate. He's still a baby, but I think he can get it done. Now, last but not least, here we go. The Ohio State lost by a point on a snafu to the greatest team on this planet Earth in college football, the Oregon Mighty Ducks of Dan Lanning and Phil Knight and all the money in America from Nike to fund this operation. How did they not beat Ohio State?
That sounds like an Oregon hater.
How did they not beat Ohio State by 100 points in this semifinal matchup?
Oh, I don't think they beat by 100 points. Ohio State's really good. Sorry, my son opened the door. I don't think they win by 100 points by any means, but I do think they win. I mean, Oregon, obviously 13-0, the number one team, only undefeated team in college football. A lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Best quarterback in college football. I mean, he was the most consistent quarterback in college football. I don't think he's that big a time NFL prospect, but as a college quarterback, Dylan Gabriel's a really good college quarterback.
Agreed.
Tez Johnson, yeah, I would say it. Best slot guy in college football. He's absolutely unguardable. Seen him play twice in person. can't really guard him. He's just quick. He's done.
Don't think Ohio State has enough to guard him, and I think that's where it
I
comes
think
down.
he's an Alabama kid, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played with both. He's both stepbrother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Evan Stewart, he had a great game against Ohio State, former 5-star. Yeah, against everyone else, I thought he had a pretty inconsistent year, to be honest with you. Trayshawn Holden, former Alabama guy, was not spitting on people or doing something stupid.
Yeah, that we don't even need to speak on that. That's.
But he can play.
Yes.
He's a big, fast dude. Terrence Ferguson's one of the better tight ends in college football. You have a really good offensive line. Josh Connerly and Ajani Cornelius are both going to be drafted in day 2, probably.
You fix your interior. You fix your interior they were inconsistent early on in the year.
Yeah,
interior's good now.
Yeah. We were bad. And then George James is a really, really good running back. A very consistent guy. Noah Whittington's a good change of pace. All in, we had one of the better offenses in college football. And then defensively, the best part of our defense, and outside of the last game, the defense really did not play good last game. It was frustrating. Kolanecki did call a good game, but the defense was out of position the entire game. It drove me nuts. Like I said, I was there.
They looked like they never got their feet up under them, and they were playing one step behind the play. A play too late.
Yep, they were not ready.
Right.
There were several plays where I'm like, guys, you're not lined up. And then they went, and then big play. A couple of the touchdown passes in general, it was like, whoa, guys, you're not lined up. And then boom, hit him right down the seam. But for most of the year, the defensive line's been very good. Jordan Birch is a very good edge guy. Mateo, I cannot say his last name for life of me. Mateo Yu, the younger brother of DJ Yu, who used, the quarterback for Clemson and then Oregon State and then Florida State. He's really good. He's a really good defensive lineman. Derek Harmon, I think, is going to be a first-round draft pick. He was a transfer portal guy from Michigan State. The linebackers, that is the weakness. And if there's a weakness on this team, specifically on the defense, is they do give up some yards on the ground. That
could be the kryptonite to what Ohio State should have done in the first game, and they got away from that because I think that's when they were getting into the understanding of how good Jeremiah Smith, that wave of Jeremiah Smith, getting the ball to him. And I thought Chip Kelly got outside of what he usually does, and that's established a run game with quarterback and the two running back, the two-headed monster of Judkins and Travion Henderson. I think if they get to that, it could be a long game for the Oregon Ducks. But I do believe once you get this game into the fourth quarter, I want to see Ryan Day actually coach. I haven't seen him coach, and I'm not saying that he's not a good coach. I'm not even on that. I'm just saying in a critical game, there are 4 to 5 plays that the head coach needs to pull out of his hat. If it's an onside kick, if it's that special play that you had drawn up, that's when you tap Chip and say, Chip, draw this one up. If it's a special blitz, special category, this is when the head coach pulls one out and gets it done. But obviously you have Oregon winning this.
And yeah, I'm a fan of them. But at the same time, I actually do think that Oregon, I just think they're better than Ohio State. I think Lanning's a better coach than Ryan Day. I think Lanning calls a couple every single game for most of his career, and he's gotten better each year too. He makes a couple really game-changing play calls. Like he'll randomly do an onside kick when, believe me, no one's expecting it. A fake punt. He does the little things. Will have 12 guys on the field, which causes a penalty, which ended up being beneficial. He just does little things, and he's a smart dude, and he's a tough guy too.
He's from the factory of Nick Saban, which is from the same factory of Coach Belichick and Parcells, where they're always pushing the envelope of the rules. Those guys know the rules inside and out, and there's going to be like I said, special category, special situations where you're like, this is where we can use it and get it done. Now,
and I also and probably the biggest thing is Dylan Gabriel's better than Will Howard.
yeah,
Dylan Gabriel plays extremely well in big games. In the three biggest games this year, against Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan on the road, he had 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had a couple rushing touchdowns. Big games, Dylan makes plays, and I just think he's better than Will Howard. He's going to make a few more plays on the ground. He's going to make a few more big passes, and that's why I think they win by about 10 points.
All right, Tyler, we got a couple of viewer questions, and I'm gonna shoot them to you first, and I'll jump on them second. From FFROM, has Quinn peaked? Quinn Ewers, you think he's peaked in terms of how good he can actually be in college, and do you think there's a next step for him to get to? And if he does, how?
Yeah, I mean, he's not got. I don't think he's gotten immensely better during his time. I thought he had a better year last year than this year. Did he hurt his shoulder?
He's always hurt. When it first started out, he had didn't get touched and had an oblique.
Okay.
And then it was his shoulder.
Broken collarbone, right?
Right. And then now it's his ankle that he doesn't want to take the brace off because it makes him feel great now. I just think that's one of my biggest things with Quinn. The best ability is availability, and he's often not available. And I think that's where, as a teammate, as a coach, you don't know what you're going to get. And he's very fragile. And I'm not questioning nothing about his toughness. It's just it's always something. And when you aren't on the field to add and to continue maturation as a quarterback, that's where the learning curve and the growth kind of gets hindered. All right, we got another one from Dale B. Another quarterback question. How long do you think Milroe plays tomorrow?
How long do you think? Well, you did have the Cam Ward situation.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Because initially I'm like, he'll play until they're ahead enough, but then that did just happen. I think he plays the whole game. I think he plays as long as it's a competitive game. Obviously, if they get ahead by like 2-3 touchdowns or 3-4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, they take him out. It does sound like he might be going to the NFL. Is that true?
I don't have the answer to that, but I do believe that Ty Simpson gets meaningful reps tomorrow.
So you think Ty's the starter next year for Bama?
Yeah, just to kind of give you a little preview of what you'll see if Russell doesn't come in and beats him out in the spring. I don't think you go.
Oh, you think that kid, number 2 recruit, beats him?
Yeah, I don't know if number 2. I don't know. I think next year. I don't think Jalen Milroe. If I'm Jalen Milroe, I'm not staying at Alabama. If that's leaving and getting in the transfer portal and going somewhere else, or that's going to the NFL. But I personally, if I'm him, I wouldn't stick around in Alabama because I think he gets better if he leaves and goes somewhere where someone structures that offense around him. He's not ready for the NFL. He'll get chewed up and spit out at the NFL level because there's a level of cognitive play that's missing from his game. His ability to play the game shoulders up is below average. His physical ability is above average. His explosiveness in terms of being a runner, his ability to throw the football, not pass, throw the football is elite because he can throw the football anywhere you want to on the field. He covered 53 in the third and damn near throw it for 70, 80 yards. But in terms of passing with touch, timing, and anticipation, no way. Beyond. So it's almost like what Jalen Milroe did when he left Bama. Jalen Milroe went to Oklahoma and got better as a passer. And he's not a great passer, but he got better just because of reps, and he had someone tool the game towards his skill set. And
are you talking about Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts. Yes, he got better. So I think if Jalen Milroe finds a better suitor for him, I think he could be a better NFL prospect if he goes somewhere. And I said it last week. I got somebody for you if you want a better quarterback teacher. I can find somebody, we can get this thing done. Now, leading up to this, Cam Ward opting out second half. We're both former players. You're on that sideline. How would you feel?
Not very good. I mean, they were easily winning the game and then they lost.
Right.
Definitely diminishes. It makes the bowl games just seem like glorified exhibition games. Yeah, I mean, he played really well. He broke the all-time FBS season record for yards, and then he just chills.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be that happy. Now, for him personally, he probably talked to Coach Cristobal before the game and said, this is what we're going to do. And Cristobal stayed to the plan, and I guess it is what it is. I wonder how the NFL looks at it. I mean,
we don't care.
We don't care. Yeah, I was going to say, Shedeur played the whole game, but he played terrible.
I mean, I don't – listen, Miami should be happy that that guy graced them with his presence for the last game. It's a bowl game. Pop Tart Bowl. Who cares? The only people that actually cared about that, probably the coaches, but they already got their bonus anyway because they don't get a bonus for a win unless Mario has something triggered in if he gets a win over 10 or 11. Then he gets an extra 500 or something like that. But it's a bowl game. You get into a bowl game, it triggers whatever incentive that you had within your contract. I don't have a problem with it. I would rather him have not played than play because I'm big on it. If you're going to get into it, and I'm a competitor, you can't. I'm not going to come out in the half unless it's a preseason game or something like that. But once you throw the pads on, you lather up. It's hard to say don't go. I'm going, but I don't hold him for that because that's something that this new generation. He's probably sat down with his team and its coaches, and they agreed to it. And if the coaches agreed to it, he's just doing exactly what he's allowed to do. Hey, FF From, I like that. Here's another one that he got. He said, Jalen Milroe, USC or Texas?
Definitely not Texas.
No, I can see not Texas, but SC, I wouldn't do it just because they don't have the pieces out there for you. There's a ton of other places that you can go and get better. I don't think SC and I don't think Texas. I get Lincoln Riley and I get Sark, but I think Manning is the guy in waiting. I mean, what happened if he messed around and went up to Ohio State?
or Georgia.
Or Georgia. That would be fun.
Yeah, Ohio State does need a quarterback. They do have that Julian Sane guy who's a pretty high recruit. I think he went to Alabama first, didn't he? He transferred after like 2 days.
and somebody beat him out there too. So I don't know if that's the case of anything. So you don't have. So here's my next question. What about players opting out in bowl games? Would you, if you were a former player and you were a first round and you have a first round grade, would you have opt in or opt out?
Me personally, I would play.
You'd have played?
My specific personality. Yeah, I would play.
I'll tell you.
But I don't have a problem with guys. You know, at the end of the day, they're going to the NFL. They have a decision to make. They have a family to make the decision with. They have agents who are in their ears. I'm like, when guys opt out, I thought, like I said, like you kind of mentioned, I thought it more weird that he opted out mid-game. But opting out, I don't have a specific issue. Obviously, I just went through Michigan. Their whole defense is opting out. But me personally, no, I would have played.
Here's a crazy story, and I probably played with the first top 3 pick player that ever opted out of a bowl game. Nobody's going to say, oh, Chris Samuels was the first one to opt out. And his was more injury, and plus he had nothing to gain. So we're playing the 2000 Orange Bowl against Michigan, matter of fact. And Chris Samuels did not play just because he had some knee issues in terms of his and then he had nothing to gain. He got word that he's going to be a top 5 pick. Like anything else to get you hurt. If I have anyone in my family that's a top 10 pick or first round pick in the NFL draft, and this is not a national championship game or playoff game, we're done. We might have been done before the season was over. I'm treating this like the Joe Bosa. I'm treating like the Bosa family. It's a business decision. We're not playing. We came to college for a reason to get to the NFL. We're going to get to the NFL now. This is a meaningless game. Coach, we'll shake hands. I don't want any insurance policy. I'm good. And I'll move on. And if anyone of my teammates, and I never felt anything against Big Chris. Chris played the whole entire year, getting his knee drained after every game, never missed a practice. Sean missed a ton of practices. Chris never missed any. Worked out every single day in the summertime. One of the greatest teammates I've ever had. But when it came time to make that decision, he and his family sat down and was like, nah, it's not worth it. I don't think it's worth it. My number one thing was seeing Jalen Smith get hurt by Taylor Decker and took him out of the first round to a second round, and one of the greatest linebackers that I've evaluated in my time. I mean, he was almost a shell of himself once he got that drop foot. So you just got to weigh out your options to see what's best for you and figure that out. But I wouldn't have played. I ain't playing. I'm out. I ain't even showing up to I'm not even going to the bowl game. So you don't even have nothing to worry about me being a distraction. As soon as the last game of the season is over and I got that word that I'm going, yeah, guys, I'm not going to class anymore. I'm not going to workouts anymore. You guys won't see me. I won't be a problem. You go. All right, so here's some rumblings that we heard, and tell me how you feel about this. The NCAA can't get it right. They haven't gotten NIL right. They haven't gotten the recruiting calendar right. They haven't gotten the playoff right for most people because we always seen was blowouts. And they haven't figured out what it's going to take to get the right amount of teams into the playoffs. And the guy that keeps on just pushing his head up and just giving great ideas, maybe the greatest college coach of all time, Nick Saban. Nick Saban for a commissioner of the NCAA college football. What's your thoughts on that?
I have heard that. I think they asked Kirby Smart about that today during a press conference. I don't know. It's so weird right now. I mean, does it seem like they seem to be at a point where they might need a commissioner because it's acting more like a professional sports league? Nick Saban, obviously, the greatest coach of all time in college football, knows the game in and out, loves the sport. Why not? Why not give him the commissioner of college football? Does he want that headache, though, at this time in his life?
You know what? James Franklin answered that well, too. They also asked James, and James answered it well. Here's a couple of things that I don't know if it's a headache for him because he's an old man that needs work. And to always push the game forward and understand everything from the coach's aspect and overall player aspect and even player safety, because he gets that as well, too, and they understand the marketing of college football. It's at the best time of it right now. They just need someone to come in and give structure. And if you know anything about Coach Saban, that's what he is. He's 1,050% structure. And he understands what the best 12 teams would be in the playoffs, what the calendar should look like for a college coach and recruits, have some structure and stability in terms of NIL and salary cap structure that he would put in place to make sure that the coaches, general managers, and personnel understands when things are going to happen, why they're going to happen, but also get back information and feedback from other coaches. Coaches will trust Coach Saban more than everybody else that's been in that position. So I would give him my vote, and I think he would do a bang-up job of it. He'll get the right people around him, and he'll get it right. Honesty. So here we go, Justin. We got to get some questions. Usually on these Mondays, they are firing a bunch of questions at me because they think that I'm the top 15 Alabama hater in the history of all Bama kind. But tonight they're just being hesitant on throwing some at me. So I'm gonna throw some at you. All right. In the next 2 to 5 years, give me 2 rules that you would want to see change with the likeness image marketing campaign that's going on.
2 like to have changed?
Yeah, to make sure that this thing is right. And before you get that, everybody hit that like and subscribe button, please, so we can get as many followers as possible. Go ahead, Tyler.
That's a difficult question for me. I'm a free market guy, if you know what I do. For my other job, I work in public policy. I definitely don't want government to have anything to do with what's happening in the NCAA. I want there to be the freedom for individuals to make whatever ability to make money, because after all, they're out there, they're playing the game, they're the ones who get to be in the ad and get to be the face of a brand. And I think they should be able to have that ability. I know that some people are like, this has just become about who has the most deepest pockets, who can pay who the most. But at the end of the day, it's dependent upon each donor, it's dependent upon each organization, it's dependent upon each business. If they want to fund, if Bill Nye wants to continue funding the collectives for Oregon and make them a perennial power by giving such good incentives to transfer portal guys and high-end recruits, then why should we stop that? And the same if donors for particular colleges want to put a certain amount of investment into the collectives, I'm all for supporting that. I don't know if I've really changed that much when it comes to NIL and name, image, and likeness. Now, the transfer portal, it is problematic for coaches. It diminishes the bowls to have this transfer portal season right now. I think they should move the season up actually 2 weeks. I think the season should actually end at the beginning of January, and then the portal is the first couple weeks in January. So I think that they should move the window back after the season. It would then incentivize more players to play in the bowl games. And I also think it would be better for overall roster management for coaches. Like, you're having players like Liberty, for example. They had like their whole offensive line transfer, and they have to play a game. They had the quarterback transfer. I mean, that's kind of difficult, and it could become slightly a player safety issue because you just don't have players. You had to have Marshall forfeit.
And they're cutting the rosters down to 105 instead of the 120.
Yeah. So I think they should move the college football season up. They should move the portal back, and keep the 2 windows. Keep it the one there and then the one during the spring. But that would be the one change I'd make the transfer portal.
So,
did that answer your question?
Yeah. So instead of moving the season up 2 weeks, because you're in August already. You're playing in August anyway. So when would you practice fall ball? Would you now remove some of fall practice and make that only a 2 week?
No. Move it up. Move it up 2 weeks. I know that's kind of hot in some areas, but they have some nice indoor facilities.
All right, so Tyler, I'm gonna tell you who you're not thinking about, Tyler. You're not thinking about these guys, these coaches that only get a few weeks off during the year. And a lot of coaches can't wait for those 6 weeks to kind of you're not away already because you're camp, OVs, you're lumping everything into June. July is really a dead period where you really get that month to get back to being a football coach and building your team and camaraderie. So if you're pushing now into July, because you want to play August, September, October, November, December, January is when bowl season usually starts. And, bowl season has a lot to do with one of the biggest spending holidays, which is Christmas. You don't want to interfere with that. But I do like that. But I think the only way you get that done is if you remove school from college athletics. and just call it semi-pro, because one of the main reasons why the transfer portal is where it's at right now in terms of what the calendar is because of school starting at this time, and young people got to get enrolled in the schools. So I would say take 2 games away, leave the calendar what it is, go back to playing the schedule that you used to play instead of playing an NFL season, actually play a college season. Go back to the straight conference and remove the non-conference schedule because it don't make it's not helping anyone. Go straight to conference play. Get rid of the cupcake, get rid of non-conference games, go straight to conference play. It's only 2 conferences anyway that we truly pay attention to. SEC and the Big Ten. Everybody else kind of just fits in. See and if you want to get cute, just have the Big Ten and the SEC Invitational, which the college playoffs is, and get that done. If they want to have a non-conference schedule, just pick 2 teams. You pick 2 teams and you match it up, and you go ahead and just play it. Listen, right after the game tomorrow, Bama Standard will be here. The post-game wrap-up, win, lose, or draw, we'll be here to give you our excitement, analysis, and get all that right. Tyler, before we jump out of here, man, give everybody where they can find you on social media and give yourself a shameless plug of how great you are.
How great I am, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm not that great.
You're an incredible guy.
You can find me on @TurnerCast, and that's where I talk mostly about college football. I have another account, but it's more about my other job in nature. So yeah, check me out at @TurnerCast. I also have a Substack called College Football Reporting, and I have not written on there for a while, but I gave like my preseason preview, how I predicted the season turn out, the playoff matchups, and might jump on there in the next couple of days and do a preview of the quarterfinal games and pick out who I think is going to win it here in the end. So,
and who do you have winning? Who do you have winning?
Oregon.
All right. So who's your Final Four?
I'm going to have Texas, Georgia, Penn State, and Oregon, and then I'm going to have Oregon over Texas, and then I'll go Penn State over Georgia, and then Oregon over Penn State.
Wow, you really like Penn State?
I don't really like Penn State. No, I don't really
Georgia.
like Penn State.
You hate Georgia?
No, I don't hate Georgia. I don't trust them at all offensively this year. I just don't.
Trust Penn State? Okay, listen, we were gonna sign off. I was ready to say we're done.
Penn State's good though. Penn State's good.
Are they?
They're good.
What makes you believe Penn State is good? Like, give me 2 games that you walked away and said, you know what?
Oregon. I was there.
Okay, they lost to Oregon.
Yep, and it was a really good game. It was a game that it was competitive until the very, very, very end. And then Ohio State, if they would have just played better in the red zone, they would have pulled off that victory over Ohio State. So there are 2 losses to 2 very good teams that are obviously in the quarterfinals. They had a chance to win both those games, and they blew everyone else out.
Everybody. That's what they do every year. So all right. So let me play devil's advocate. Go back to earlier on in the season, where Boise played against Oregon. Why don't you have Boise in the semifinals if they almost beat Oregon as well too?
A couple things. Oregon's offensive line at that period was a complete mess, and it just killed the whole timing. Gabriel just come in, he transferred in, and just the mess. They gave up 6 sacks in the Boise State game. 6 sacks. That's bad. They've given up 5 sacks since then. So that tells you how big a mess that was. And just in general, Oregon sleepwalk. It was not just that, but it was also overall, they just sleepwalked for those first 2 games. They beat an FCS school 24-14 at home. So, that's why Oregon started off the season as preseason number 3, and they were number 9 after those first 2 games. And I was looking at them like, what the heck is wrong with Oregon? And then they got everything together, fixed the offensive line. A couple guys that were actually battling injuries got healthy, and then a couple of younger guys that were just getting some reps, like Mateo Yu started playing at an all-conference level. Evan Stewart, who at first 2 games, he was like, where's this Texas A&M transfer? And then he started playing at a higher level. And since then, Oregon has pretty much dominated most people. But that's Boise State at that point. And Boise State is pretty good. I mean, they have the best running back in college football. They have
arguably.
Who's better than them?
I think you have a bunch of players that are significantly the same. I can tell you that Dylan Sampson is not as good a running back as Aston Genty. I can look in your face and say that.
You said he is as good?
Yeah, they're close. I can tell you that Travion Henderson is not as good. Quinshon Judkins. I just believe there's this group of running backs that's going to be NFL ready this year, that's going to be draft eligible, is as good as what the quarterbacks were last year. And I don't mean that you're going to have 6 or 7 drafted in the first round, but you're going to get into the second, third, fourth rounds of the NFL draft, and you're going to be able to find a starter. Really good production, just in comparison to Aston Genty going maybe late first, early second.
So you think you can get as much value later in the draft?
Yeah, I think running backs are dime a dozen. I don't think that Gently hit 2,000 yards.
He's way over.
He's way over. Yeah,
way over.
The question is, how close does he get to Barry Sanders' record?
He would have to have 267 yards.
Yeah. I think that's the question.
Well, I did say he's going to get 200, so he gets within like 60 yards.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets to 267, and I don't think they beat Penn State.
No,
I think 200 is a little bit.
So
I'm not feeling great about that one.
So here's what I'm gonna say. When you get to the playoffs, this is less coaches, more players. So what player from Oregon that we don't know about, that by the end of this college football run could potentially be a superstar?
Kenyon Sadiq. He caught the first 2 touchdown passes in the Penn State game. He is a Brock Bowers kind of guy. He's a dynamic athlete. He actually won the 100 meters for the state of Idaho. I think he ran at like a 10.5. He's like 6'3", 240 pounds. He can do it all. You can give him the ball in the backfield, catch it. I don't know if you saw that clip where he literally hurdled the guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's good. He's a really, really good player. Like, I actually think Oregon will be better next year.
I can see that.
I just think that they recruit at a really high level. They are awesome in the portal. The biggest thing they do is they know how to pony up that cash in the portal to get all the necessary players. And I think that guys like Sadiq will be better, and I think they're getting that kid from Tulane at running back. I mean,
Malachi Hughes?
Yeah. So
just like Malachi Hughes, hit that like and subscribe button if you want Malachi Hughes to show up and get 2,000 yards at Oregon next year.
I really like DeCorian Moore was the number 1 wide receiver.
They've done an outstanding job in recruiting and building depth. Now, holding on is going to be one of the things. Here's a guy that I have for Ohio State. It's not like you don't know about him, but I think he's going to fall into that category of players that leave Ohio State but get really, really good in the NFL. Carnell Tate.
I knew you were going to say that.
I think Carnell Tate is one of the most underrated playmakers, smooth route running, explosive, sneaky explosive. It's almost like Smitty and Judy tied into one in terms of Judy's route running ability, but Smitty's uncanny, just plucking the ball out of the air, and you don't know that he's running really fast until he gets on top of you, and you're like, whoa, he's really that good. I think Carnell Tate is that good. And I know the world knows about Caleb Downs just because he transferred from Bama, and he's the best safety in college football in the last 5 years. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch that Penn State game. And there's a reason why Tyler Warren, we both agreed, one of, if not the best tight end in college football, was ineffective because of Caleb Downs strapped him up and was in his pocket like he owed him money, and he was glued and he wasn't trying to get out. I think those two guys, when you walk away, you're going to be like, whoa, what have we been missing? Because everyone hears about Ohio State, but it's always the offense and Jeremiah Smith. But, boy, Caleb Downs is a
So you picking Ohio State to beat Oregon?
No shot.
Oh, no shot? Okay.
No shot. I don't think Ryan Day has it. It's going to get close to it. I don't know, Smoke. 5 years, though? Yeah, who you got? You tell me who's been a better safety than my man Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs is the best safety that ever came through Alabama, point blank, period. Best one in Nick Saban era. That's how much.
How many years ago was that kid who plays for the Ravens now that played for Notre Dame?
Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton.
He falls in that range. I'll still take Caleb.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a very good player. I'll take Caleb though. Kyle can't cover like Caleb. He's longer. I think Kyle has a little bit more range, but Caleb is different, man. He can cover like a corner. Player. He can cover like a corner. He's almost a mix. You remember when Earl Thomas was patrolling the middle of the field? Caleb Downs is one of the few players that can start out in the post, but end up with a tackle for loss in the B gap and also run the alley. Well, you know what, Tyler? I think we've got you for the hour booked, and I owe you that money that I got to send over because our guy Daniel Petty didn't want to show back up. But next week he'll be back, 7 Central, 8 Eastern time. Like I said, tomorrow following the game, the Bama Standard Network will be there to cover the post-game show. Tune in, get live with us. We'll be back. Again, Tyler, appreciate you again, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. Have a good one.
Too.